Hi, my name is Alex, and in this episode of Magic Missile Minis, I'm going to be starting the biggest D&D terrain project that I've ever worked on. As the title of this video suggests, I'm going to be documenting my progress on a massive modular mansion system with multiple tiers. It's fully customizable. And so that if I have a D&D game where I have a manor that they go through that's like a haunted mansion or something like that, I can actually bring out a fully finished mansion miniature that's like this huge thing that I can start pulling off layers of as they're going underneath and going through the mansion. And in this video, I'm going to be tackling the base building blocks of this mansion that are going to be all the separate rooms. So the first step of this project is to cut out all of the walls and the main floor that I'm going to be using for this room. The measurements for the tiles I'm going to be using is going to be 3 centimeters per square. And the floor plan is going to be 4 by 8 squares. So the walls that I'm cutting out now are going to be 18 by 12, except that they're not going to be 18 by 12, they're going to be 18.6 by 12 to make sure that I'm taking into account the width of the foam core that I'm using. What you can see me doing here is starting to work on the texture that I want to add for the base of this room that I'm going to have, which is going to be a hardwood floor. I cut out some 1 centimeter strips of foam core, then take off the top layer of it so I can go ahead and texture it with a wire brush, and that gives it a great wooden texture. I then cut it up into 3 centimeter lengths, and with some glue, line them up on the squares. And repeating this process, making sure that when I put them on the squares, they're kind of cross-hatching to create separation between all of these squares. I then go ahead and do the same thing I did for the pieces of wood that I had just made before for the floor, but make them significantly longer, because what I'm going to be doing with these is I'm going to be attaching them to the top part of all of the walls. And these are going to line the brim of the room that we're making and are going to act as the kind of I-beams or like support beams of the ceiling. Measuring those out simply on the actual walls that we cut out earlier. But I decided to cut a little bit off the longer ones to make up for the width of the beams added to the walls directly adjacent to it. I then go ahead with some hot glue and attach the walls to the floor that we've just made, being very careful not to burn myself on the hot glue gun, which has happened one too many times before. And then with a little bit of white glue or Mod Podge, I attach the little wood strips that we made before. And then I also do the same with some beams that I wanted to have in all the corners of the room. Again, just doing the same process to make the wood texture on a couple smaller pieces of foam core. And now I can go ahead and start working on the magnets that I mentioned in the title of this video. I start by measuring out the middle of the wall section, and then mark all the places where I'm going to put the magnets, which is in between every single square. As you can see me doing here, I slice out a little square that's about 3 millimeters wide and start to empty that out so that I can put a magnet in there. Fortunately, I kind of did this in the wrong order than I would have liked to have done, because here you see I put the hot glue in and then the magnet afterwards. But what I realized later on is this makes the magnet farther away from the other side of the wall. So the connection between all the stuff that I'm going to want to put over there isn't quite as strong. So when I do the rest of the magnets, I actually take a little wooden skewer and push the magnet into the hole that I carved out and put the hot glue over top of that, sealing the magnet into it and then having it be as close as possible to the other side of the wall. Once I've gone around the entire room doing that, I start working on a door. The way I wanted to do this was, rather than have a door be in a fixed spot, I wanted to be able to add it on later, depending on what layout I wanted the room to have for whatever game I'm running. So I do the door the same way I do all the other wood and attach a magnet to the back of it. And so that the room wasn't super bare, I go ahead and also make a simple fireplace, stacking on several layers of foam core in the same shape of a fireplace, but making sure to have the last layer that's closest to the wall have a little divot in it so that it doesn't just bump up with the beam that I added on top of all the walls. Once I've finished doing that, I go ahead and go over everything with a layer of Mod Podge to act as a paint primer. Mixing up a mid-tone brown with some acrylic paint that I have, not actually using miniature paints, as not to waste them on such a large surface area. Making sure to hit all the wood with this same brown color, this kind of reddish mid-tone brown, and then hitting the inside walls with this kind of cream off-whitish color to make it look a little bit aged, kind of like aged plaster. Then, of course, over the fireplace, I do a gray for all the stone, adding several layers to make sure that it's nice and opaque. And once all the base colors are in, I go over everything with a dry brush in their respective colors in order to bring out all of the highlights. And to finish everything off, I hit it with a black-brown wash to get into all of the cracks and crevices and make the dark shadows nice and black and, well, dark. With that done, the project is finished for now. This project really excites me. Even though this video was a little bit shorter and this part of the project isn't the most complicated, the prospect of this massive project is really exciting to me. And if you're interested in catching every single detail that I add to this project, a lot of the details are going to be very small and not deserving of their own video, namely all the different little additions that I'm going to be adding for these rooms, like bookshelves and candelabras. So if you want to check out that kind of progress for all the other additions that I make, you can check out my Instagram where I'll be posting those rather than posting a video for every little thing that I add to this project. But for some of the larger aspects of this project, like dungeon systems, sewers, and other things like that, they will get their own video, so don't have to worry about not getting the videos for updates if you don't check out the Instagram. But that's more for if you want to get caught up on every single little detail for this project. But anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. And once again, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.